Welcome back to Sika Strength, welcome back to Sika Stan, and welcome to Sika Strength News.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know who that was.
No idea. He won't be back again.
Very sorry for that. So, welcome back to Sika Strength and welcome back to the new show. Today is Tuesday. I assume you're watching this on a Tuesday. Hang on. Yesterday was a bank holiday in Ireland, so we're here with the new show again. So we got a little bit of news on some weightlifting, some interesting pieces, and then we've got John Haack talking about his gear, Shane Haller squatting 328 kilos like an absolute animal, and then we've got some few interesting things at the end. So first up, we've got Morgan, or Madless 15, who's not 15 anymore, he's 19.
It feels like in my head he'll still be like 15 or 16 year old and this young phenom.
Yes.
But to be fair, he's still doing phenomenal results. That was a very nice clean.
Yeah, I'm always concerned for his elbows. I'm always concerned for Morgan's elbows. I think it's just a morphological thing. I don't know. He could let go of the hook grip if he wanted to, but it wouldn't be as secure. You know, he obviously enjoys it, but
They're definitely not as low as we've seen them for like his heavier attempts in the past, you know?
Yes.
And they're definitely not as asymmetrical as we've seen him in the past, which is better. Like it definitely makes it better. It makes it less risky, but a very nice clean.
Yeah, he's making great progress.
Yeah.
Like morphologically, he's not really built for weightlifting in the traditional sense. You know, his legs are quite long, and that's kind of why we see that bottom position. But his jerk is something else. His jerk is very, very good, and his snatches come on a lot as well.
I remember when Mash used to be putting out videos of him when he was younger, he used to always be the thing of like, how do you keep the football coaches away from him, because he was that bigger and taller than you typically would have seen for like up and coming weightlifters. But very, very nice technique and very strong.
So here's a 155 snatch just while we're on his page, and there was a 213 jerk I think somewhere recently. So he's done, that wasn't his 155 first one. There was a jerk from a rack, quite a big one. There, 213, that's it, yeah. Very good squatter as well.
Yeah.
So here's the 213. I would argue his jerk is probably his best lift in terms of technical and timing.
Yeah.
Like, so
it's very nice.
Very nice jerk.
Really, really nice.
Yeah.
Has always had phenomenally strong squats.
Yes.
Or since I've been watching him, has always had very strong squats.
That is one of Mash's traits, really, of his lifters, is letting... There's people ending up with very strong squats.
Yeah.
He seems to have some kind of unique ways of loading them by the looks of things. But it's very hands-on by the look of it as well.
Do you know where he's training out of at the moment?
Not sure where that is.
Okay.
Sometimes the gym is there. No, I don't know where that is. Oh, wait, hang on.
At Cal Strength.
Oh! American lifters love changing coaches.
They really do.
How long has this been going on? I did not know this. Oh, it's Carl Strength. That's mad. I thought he was at MASH. Interesting. If anyone knows what's going on there. Either way, well done to Morgan.
Yeah, really nice. 205 kilo clean.
Great to see he'll be in a few years.
Yeah.
Now, here's a thing that we probably thought we'd never see. So Brian Oliver from Inside the Games.biz is a journalist who reports a lot on weightlifting, and he has kind of brought it to everyone's attention. I haven't seen this anywhere else because this particular person doesn't have social media anymore, but Rebeka Ibrahima, formerly known as Rebeka Koha, a Latvian lifter, has returned to competition. So she would have been one of, if not the most popular female weightlifters about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more, 3 years ago. She was a very, very good weightlifter, but she since moved to Qatar. She's had a child in the last year, and she's returned to the competition platform, still under the banner of, or still getting coached by Edwards, the Latvian coach, who a lot of you will know to see. But she's lifting for Qatar, and she did 80 and 95.
So Rebeka, when she left or stopped competing internationally, was definitely like a massive name, probably the most famous female weightlifter in the world at the time, or definitely one of them. So it's great to see her back training. It's great to see her back doing well. I know Miso was lifting at this competition. I saw his lifts. They looked pretty strong. I think he was just power clean and jerking, but Rebeka looks like she had a good competition. You don't know what the attempts were she went for.
No, I assume these were pretty conservative. So it was she's only back training 3 or 4 months. So she competed as a 59, which was her old weight category. Just some interesting things about her training. So she wanted to return with her old coach, which is very interesting, that she still had that connection with him and still wanted to come back with her. And you can read the full article, and she talks a bit about that and talks a bit about not having social media. So it's very, very interesting. But it's funny, there's a bit at the end, and I think this kind of sums up weightlifting and what she's looking for. So The first thing is to get up to my old results. Getting there is already starting to be challenging, but from now I'm just working my way up. Ibrahima has had trouble with her knees before she decided to retire, so I think a lot of people knew that. That was one of the things she talked about, was that her knees were always sore. And she made the announcement soon after the post moment of the 2020 Olympics and said, knees and back, this is a forever thing for me. And I think that's there's a lot of weightlifters who've been lifting for a while who are nodding at this. So she said, I can do some special exercising, do some treatment or something, but it'll still be a struggle. What is the key? Maybe to have a good warm-up, which I don't always do. Always be stretched and ready. Don't skip a few weights, get the high ones immediately. So don't be crazy, be careful. But I think she's just kind of alluding to the fact that at that level of weightlifting, you're probably going to have...
Yeah.
Now,
yes, she says we lift more than any human should really lift, which is a great point. Like, it's not, you're not really designed to be doing this.
Edwards is known for pushing these lifters a lot. So he's things like Ritvar's, he said 2 shoulder surgeries. Artur's has had shoulders as well. And the Vladim has talked about some of the training load they went through and how intense it was, So Edwards is known for pushing his lifters a lot. But at the same vein, a lot of these lifters are still with him and she's come back to him. So it's obviously an understanding of what's going on here, especially she said space from it and she doesn't feel like she was in any way pushed too hard,
Absolutely,
so it's obviously a kind of everyone's like on the same page here.
Yeah, you've got to break a few eggs to make some omelets.
We can talk about Lasha, saying everything really hurts for the moment at him, but it's him and the coach who are on the same page pushing for those limits. Now, speaking of pushing limits, Adrian Zielinski. So a lot of you probably won't remember Adrian, and there's a good few of you who will. If you're a newer lifter, you probably won't know who he was, but he was a Polish weightlifter who was banned after the London Olympics. He competed as an 85, and then I think he came back for a bit and competed as a 94, and I think he got a second ban. So if somebody knows the exact dates of that, but he's recently just uploaded some random training footage on his Instagram. And he's not been weightlifting, he has been benching. And here's 210, and he's benching like every weightlifter ever, which is all arms and no lower body.
Literally, his feet are moving on the ground as he's benching this. His knees are kind of wobbling around. Just no rigidity with the lower body at all. It's just all upper body strength. This is unbelievably impressive.
They're so fast as well.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see the weightlifters will be grinding through the whole reps, but he's absolutely nailing these. He's off balance when he unracks the weight.
Yeah, I would like to, or I'd kind of cautiously say that a lot of very, very, very strong powerlifters wouldn't be able to do anything similar to that if their feet weren't set on the ground.
Yes. And
didn't have any kind of setup. Like, if their feet were just kind of floating on the ground, no real setup, I don't think there's a lot of people in the world could do that, to be honest.
He was a very good weightlifter, he's a very talented weightlifter. We'd seen like Oleg Perpechenov, so he was the world record holder in the 77 kilo class who did the 210. We saw him, and he still does, is he moved to powerlifting after weightlifting. Definitely one of the best weighlifters ever when he was at his peak, and he's benching something like 240 or something crazy. Adrian made a bit of a comeback for weightlifting, but as far as I know, I think he got banned the second time.
Okay.
And just putting up these kind of pictures, which is always a whole thing.
It's definitely something that the anti-doping people look out for.
No, there's an anti-doping sheet here. When was this put up? Maybe he's coming back. Maybe it's only once. Oh, this is 202 weeks ago.
Okay.
Never mind. So anyway, these benches are from a few days ago, so very, very recently. So hopefully it'll top out at something. Now, speaking of anti-doping, we have John Haack talked about his kind of gear usage on the Elite FDS Table Talk podcast.
Yeah, it was very good. It's a good listen if you're looking to... now, I assume that the longer version is out there, but if you're looking to kind of get an insight into John's gear use, and I've seen multiple different threads of comments online where people are saying, oh, he was using more beforehand, or he was using it prior to saying he started using it. But to be fair to John's results, like, John's results kind of line up with when he talked about starting to use proper gear or proper PEDs, so it's interesting. He said he started properly using PEDS when he went for a 2,000 pound total at 181,
just 70 odd kilos.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. By the sounds of this, it was very, very moderate doses at that time, so That's
82 kilos.
At 82 kilos, that's absolutely crazy totals to be hitting, you know. And he was literally just talking about running increasing testosterone doses over the course of, I think, 12 weeks or 10 weeks or something along those lines. So it's interesting. He's said in this podcast he's working with a friend of Sika Strength, Broderick Chavez. He's been on the podcast a number of times. If you want to hear more from Broderick and more of the kind of stuff that John's talking about here, like appropriate dosing, how people should be coming on and off, how people should be safely using it, Broderick's talked about a lot of that. If you go and look at his content or just want to see more of Broderick, there's a lot of Broderick stuff on our channel, and you'll find it on other people's channels as well.
So the thing with John is they kind of said about his first proper cycle. So there's kind of information Dave Tate said, not SARMs, you know. So it is a thing you see with the newer generation, is they'll dabble in SARMs first. A lot of people will dabble in SARMs and never really think they're entering the realm of using just performance enhancing drugs. They feel like SARMs are this kind of grey area, whether this is like mental gymnastics or this is complete ignorance of something. A lot of time we'll see people using SARMs just kind of consistently or haphazardly without any regard for any of the issues, you know. And I think one of the most interesting things we've seen is that we've seen a lot more issues with people who use SARMs than with people who use moderate doses of PEDs. So obviously when you get into excessive doses of PEDs, you obviously start to see some issues. But in terms of recreational people who are doing this unguided, seen a lot of people use SARMs haphazardly and had a lot of issues, you know. So it's kind of one of the things I just thought about when he brought up that it was like his first proper cycle when he's using testosterone.
I will say on that point as well, from what we have seen, the major health issues tend to be SARM related. Yes. Or the kind of hospitalizable issues tended to be SARMs related rather than the kind of more traditional route. So it is something definitely to think about. It's definitely something that everyone needs to be aware of. And that's why I'm so glad John is willing to talk about this so openly, you know. Like this is definitely the kind of rhetoric I would want people to be pushing, that people would just be as open as possible, talk about things a bit more and just kind of help to educate people.
The SARMs thing too, though, it does come from an uneducated perspective. So if SARMs are used in an educated manner versus PEDs in an educated manner, would you see the same instant rate of issues, you know? One of the things... Sorry.
I think the barrier for entry for SARMs is just so low. That's why you get so many people using them, you know. It's a powder or a little dropper, you know, it's... you can just get them wherever.
The thing with this, right, is that... Like, I get when people are saying everyone should be open and talking about it, but at the end of the day, for John Haack and a lot of these lifters, in most countries, the vast majority of countries, PEDs are illegal, you know, and they're like classified drugs depending on what system. They're like Class A in Ireland, or what do they call them in America? What's the system? Class 1 or something?
Schedule 1?
Schedule 1 or something. So they've, you know, it's very definitively illegal to do these things, you know. And I wonder, will I ever get to a stage where will someone get investigated for this, you know? Because there was a thing, Ronnie Coleman years ago, they were like drug testing himself and like they obviously knew he was on gear, you know? There was a whole thing about it, you know. And like with him talking about it, Liver King talking about it, like anyone who does talk about it who's in America, like would it ever get to the stage, or any country, not even America, would it ever get to the stage where someone to be investigated, you know, because you're very definitively admitting to illegal activity. Yeah,
it's interesting as well. Like Ronnie Coleman was a police officer, Joe. Like that's a whole other arena of consequence. But I think for a lot of these things, if they do go down the legal route, it's going to be more of a fraud investigation than it necessarily will be a illegal, like a kind of substance abuse investigation, you know, where somebody's making certain claims about supplements or a lifestyle or something along those lines.
Yes.
You get a lot of people bought in with the promise that they're not using PEDS, and like explicit common promises that might be contractually set out. I'd say you could definitely see people being investigated then.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting to see if anything will happen, you know, and I think it's something people don't take into account a lot of the time. And I think Mike Israel has talked about this when he talks about it, you know. He always says in the hypothetical scenario, he was like, in an alternate universe, this is what I would take. And he had like the graph on the screen in one of his most recent videos, you know. And because he's like, at the end of the day, it is still illegal, you know.
Yeah.
It is fine for people to say, just talk about it, but you're admitting to illegal activities, you know, and they're public figures, so it's more likely that they would be in a position where someone would potentially see that and want to investigate them, you know. The chances are obviously low because we haven't seen it happen, but still a concern or still a thought around it. Also,
when you look at some countries like Italy, some countries on the continent, it's literally illegal just to be taking those.
It's a jailable offence to fail an anti-doping test in Italy.
Yes,
you can go to jail. I think there's one or two of the other. I think Germany might be similar as well. I'm certain in Italy you could potentially go to jail for failing a doping test.
Yeah,
like it's illegal. But obviously, then we have the Italian racing team, so I don't know.
Jesus.
Hey. Now moving on, we've got Shane Haller squatting 328 kilos for 5 sets of 4. In what looks to be exactly that. Are they chucks? No, they're not. They're not like something else. Absolutely smashing these weights, sending them into orbit.
I'm all about this.
Yeah,
this is low bar back squatting at its pretty much its best.
This is that kind of really. This isn't the style we teach, you know. This is, but I still really appreciate it. The problem with this style of technique is that you need to be a very large human who has certain traits. So you need to be just big person.
Yeah.
You need big joints,
wide hips.
Big wide hips. A lot of external rotation in the hips. You need a lot of upper back strength, posterior strength. Now obviously the quads are still involved in it, but you'll see his shin angle is essentially getting to perpendicular with the floor, not much beyond it. And we're seeing still a very upright squat. Like this is low bar done in this style, done incredibly well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a style of low bar squatting that's becoming less popular, you know. This is very much the traditional style, the style you kind of would have seen brought in from equipped powerlifting, but this is its best version, to be honest. It's a phenomenal looking squat and at extreme weight.
And this is something that I just don't think most people are able to do, you know, and this is kind of the reason we don't really go after it. And it's just, you just don't see people like this come along that often, you know. You don't see someone under, you know, to be honest, under 120 kilos most of the times, 115 kilos who are able to do something like this, because, you know, you can't be 80 kilos and trying to move weights like this. Like, you need to make use of everything as much as possible, and it's not that he's not making use of everything as much as possible, but it is like the length of your legs, the length of your back in relation to your legs. You know, if you're someone who's built like Tanta or something, like this is going to be very, very difficult for you to do, you know.
Even you see on this squat here, like at the bottom position of that squat, his shins are fully vertical. Like, it's a crazy position to try and hit.
Yeah.
Like, trying to hit that position with no weight on your back, no barbell to kind of help you sit back into that position is an incredibly difficult thing to do.
He's moving so freely through it as well, which I think is very interesting. Like, its smoothness of this is very impressive.
Yeah, nice and fast too.
The thing you do see with people who squat with this style is if the kind of kink that usually takes a lot of the load isn't so much knees, or you don't see a lot of knee issues, but sometimes you'll see knee aggravation or you'll see knee problems after years of squatting with that kind of style. And it's interesting, you know, and it might be why a reason a lot of people moved away. Ultimately, most people who powerlift know that eventually, towards the end of your training block, things will probably get pretty sore anyway. But it does seem to be, this kind of style does seem to aggravate the hips in some people a bit more often anecdotally than you would see with the other styles. Like the hip thing is something that's noticeable when people do squat like that. But that makes sense. Like, you're putting that at extreme ranges of motion with that external rotation, obviously for the benefit of performance. So it is a trade-off, you know.
What I always like compare that to in my head is like with skiing and skiing injuries. Skiing injuries used to always be ankle related, and then you got a boot that encapsulated the ankle, became very, very rigid, and then ski injuries became knee related, you know. And it's just like you're just moving one thing from the other. So if you go from high bar to low bar, it's usually going to go from knee issues up to more hip issues, or from kind of knee issues to back issues.
And people will tell you that you can't say that. People will tell you that, like, oh, squatting like that doesn't mean you're any more predisposed to hurting anything else. But it's like saying, if I don't give you a phone, you can't make phone calls.
No, it's ludicrous. Yeah. It's like saying, you can't tell me that bicep curls will make your biceps sore.
Yeah. It's like literally me giving you a phone and saying you're no more or less likely to make a phone call. You know, it's so dumb to even say that you can't say those things. Okay, you don't have large-scale meta-analysis on this particular side of squat, but we can just use logic and what we know about the human body and say, if you're benching you're probably going to hurt your pecs more than you're going to hurt your knees.
Absolutely.
Probably. I think that's
Yeah.
fair to say.
Yeah.
So having a different style of squat is going to predispose you a small bit depending on the person. You can't guarantee it, but it is a possibility, you know.
Fair, yeah.
Now, I don't know what to say about this, but I just want to say it's incredibly impressive. Leo Urban.
I just wish this guy came deer shooting with us, because it would be so handy to have somebody up in the trees like that.
Oh my god, that'd be so useful.
Imagine the perspective you'd have out over the landscape.
Do you think this is how all humans used to be able to do it? Like,
No.
there's a surgeon who supposedly is kind of world renowned. He's written a book on just shoulder health, and he talks about that hanging is one of the best things you can do for your shoulder, because he said it separates everything and elongates it, and everyone should be hanging most days because our shoulders are still very closely related to primates' shoulders, and that's
Right.
one of the things that are kind of allows it to operate in a better fashion. It decompresses the joint a bit and relaxes things around it.
To be honest, I'm just mesmerized with this guy.
What?
There's nothing to say. Like, his hands must be so hard and strong.
His
Like,
hands, his
yeah,
feet.
No, but imagine him jumping and landing on those trees. Like, that would hurt. Like,
Imagine how scary it'd be in his though. You're just walking through, and
oh
he just
my god,
does
and
absolute-
he's just there.
I'd love to know how he scaled his training. Like, how did he go?
I'd say he was mad for climbing trees as a young fella,
Yes,
and he just kept going.
like
Like that.
that's so impressive. That's faster than a blackberry to climb the tree.
Yeah.
I just want to know how he did this. At what stage did he put on his jean shorts, his jorts, and just decide that he was going to go climbing trees this aggressively?
I just feel like he was always doing that. I can't see him leaving a job as like an accountant and then one day just deciding.
Oh, I could see that.
Could you?
I could see that.
He's going to go and live in the woods.
French Tarzan. I bet he did parkour first. I do parkour. And then he just...
One thing I will say is, it says in his bio, he's a primal method founder.
Oh dear. Maybe circus. I'm going to say gymnast. I don't think he did this just carte blanche. I don't think he just started doing this. I feel like he
Don't you?
No, I just led up to... There his hands, speaking of his hands. I don't think
Yeah,
this led him...
that's how I expected his hands to look.
Yeah, like I don't think this just happened. Like,
Don't you?
No, I just led from something. There's no way.
Like, born in the circus.
Yeah,
Ran away with the circus.
he's. This is so impressive.
It's crazy, yeah. Oh, he's definitely a parkour.
I'd say parkour.
Or tricking.
He has the same kind of movement styles or movement
Yeah.
things that.
If anyone does know his backstory, please do let us know.
How many followers is he?
1.1 million.
1.1 million.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. He deserves it. That's impressive.
Look at that. He's
That's-
in some shape.
That's unique.
Yeah.
I'd burn a lot of calories in that.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.